Yeah, they stopped the race until I can come back there. Rick Alcoholic? Tim, you sure you're not having second thoughts? Okay, all right, here we go. If I start to ramble, I promise to keep it on recovery still. All right. Well, points, I got sponsee that turns into a sponsor every now and again when I speak to him, gives me tips and I follow them. All right, yeah, I know some of Tim's history with this disease as he returned and couldn't believe he had some years sober and came back, and made me think of me. I wanted that. That's what I wanted. Leave me alone. I'm not drinking, but that didn't last long for me. I kept on drinking and drinking. Drinking for me, it started when I was a young teenager. My mom and dad and my family always got together. They didn't wait for the holidays. And it would always be a good time. Always a good time. Good family time. Myself, my siblings, cousins, aunts and uncles, and music going, and Ray Charles, and who was it? Was New Kid on the Block there? Get on your good food. Jay Brown. He was they would have that on. I should have seen them. And it was a great time, and towards, the dinner. The dinner, man, was always great, My mom, they let her do most of the cooking. My mom never could see. She became blind at a very young age, but you wouldn't know it the way she cooked and the way she went about her house. Then towards the evening, after the dinner was set, and clean up, and my father would come up with the punch bowl, boom, and put the juices in it, and take a shot glass, and use some of that Haitian rum, I'm half Haitian, with a shot glass, and put it in this thing and stir it in. It was the drink for the night, and they would actually be feeling good off of that. And myself and us young ones would run by it and, dip in it and drink and feel good. Eventually, it became Rick getting that ball out the cabinet and putting it in his cup, And I remember my aunts would, "Where's your father?" I says, "He's watching the Patriots." Back then, when you watch the Patriots, it just put you to sleep, So they would add more to the punch bowl, and it was a great time. It was a great time, and the thing is, I couldn't wait for the family to get together, not for that reason, but because of my mom's cooking, and she made these awesome cinnamon raisin rolls. That's what I look forward to. And that's the way it was for me. We, as a young kid, we always lived in these neighborhoods where I was the only color around in the schoolyard, but I never had any real problems. And we moved up to a town of Winchester. Joined the church up there, when we got into that church, I noticed that everybody's looking at us. Where are these folks from? I'm in my way of thinking, and after Mass, they came to meet Mom and Dad, the family, and you could see the priest coming down the aisle, and everybody's parting ways because he's a big guy. He was a big dude. And he came, how you doing and all that. Talking to the family, and then he looks down at me and he says, I could always use a new altar boy. And Mom went. And I looked at my dad, and he went. So I was an altar boy for a little while. But here's what I liked about it right away. I was one of the older guys, and I got to pick my Mass, which was always the last one. The last one, you get to put the stuff away, and you get to put the wine away. And I would drink some wine before, I would head out, and my father would say, come and get you. I said, no, I'll walk home. Especially during the summer, nice sunny day, got a nice buzz, it's beautiful out. And I remember then, I couldn't wait to turn 21. I think I was around 13 at the time. I couldn't wait for 21. And the years went on, and I heard some great news. Either in 1971 or 72, Massachusetts had lowered the drinking age to 18. Out the door I was. I had a car. It was in the shop. Car. It's spelled with an A and an R. Car. And I went out the door. And we had this mom and dad had gone away on a trip. My sisters were older. One got married, and my older sister was flying the friendly skies of Pan Am, and I was the only one in the house, and I said, man, the liquor store 2 miles away, and I said, nah, that's nothing, My little dog is there, so I put him on his leash and went for a 2-mile walk, made it to the liquor store, and I remember buying more than I knew I needed. I put some on the counter. I said, you better get some more. You can carry more than that, right? Put it on. That's the obsession. That was the obsession. I realized that. I learned that through this program many years later. Paid for my stuff. I think he carded me, yes, and I went and I proudly took it out, and out the door I went. I feel this tug on the leash. It's the little guy sitting down. He's a baby. He just went for a 2-mile walk. He's tired. Picked him up, walked home with my booze, and got home. Now the beers were a little bit warm, and I didn't care. I opened one up. I got the effect right away. Put some in the freezer, put some in the fridge, start to drink the night away. I ended up passing out, or blacked out, I don't know. Passing out. Blacked out too, I'll tell you why. My first blackout was that night. I was around 11 o'clock at night, the house is dark, I wake up, I jump up, the little guy, he jumps up, and my first thought, get to the freezer. Beers are not in the freezer. They were in the fridge. I don't remember getting up to move them. I just don't. And that's the way I drank, and that's the end of my story. That's just the way I drank. I learned many years, 40 years later, 30 years later, whatever it is, that I belonged in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous the next day. I would have the sobriety time that Zippy has. And throughout the 70s, I got into college. I hated it. I wanted out. I just wanted out of college. I had all my friends that weren't working, 2 headed to the Marines, and these guys were working. They were driving 1972, 73 Chevelles, GTOs, and I wanted one. I had a Plymouth Valiant with a slant 6 in it, I failed out of college immediately, and my mother and father went to Boston State College to, we'll get him to try harder, and they told them, Rick hasn't turned in any work at all since he's been here. And I had. On the ride home, I knew to keep my mouth shut. See, my father was a big dude. And he never hit me. He whacked me once on the bum when I was 8. My mother might have smacked me on the butt a couple more times more than, but I knew to keep my mouth shut because he was pissed. He says, I want you to guess how much I was paying for your college education. I wanted to say I don't care, but I knew better. He says, I'm paying $300, man. Where you gonna get that? So I get home, and listen to him some more, you know. Oh, the door tomorrow, get a job. If you think you're gonna stay down here, stay. Because he had redone the basement over, him and my uncles, and that's where I lived. I had a nice apartment down there, and a nice house in Winchester with a swimming pool in the back door, and I went in and out of, and I did it, got a job right away, you know. I worked for places like Kodak, no, not Kodak, Polaroid, Handler Textiles, warehouses, back in the day, where you could make some money. Within a month, I had my first muscle car. Racked it up, and got another one, and that's the way the 70s went for me. Girlfriends, they got rid of me quicker than I could. They did. They just, you know, and I went, one got, I was supposed to take one. This is why I believe Bill Wilson's story, that alcohol kept him out of those affairs, you know, instead of cheating on Lois, you know. I believe that. People that say, oh, you had a girlfriend, yeah, well, for me, it did. Alcohol was my main interest, cars, and that's where the 70s went for me. I racked them up. I get caught drinking and driving back then. Is that your dad? That's the chief in the next town over? Yeah. Get in the back of the car. They would take me home. One night a cop got in my Super B, and he's driving it home, and I'm watching, you know, I'm looking to see, you know, don't screw up my car, man. You know, that's what I'm thinking, you know. They take me home, tell me, you know, and they say, we're gonna be patrolling this area. We wanna see that car here. And I wasn't stupid. This booze in my little apartment downstairs, you know. 74, 76, my dad says, hey, listen, the fire department's looking to hire. And his thing is, you know, we got guys, black guys, they're all going to the police. We want them on the fire department. And I was at Draper Laboratories at this time in Cambridge. He says, why don't you take the exam? I said, sure. He says, here's more exams, and I gave them out, and yeah, some white guys came up to me. They wanted to take that exam here, you know. In 76, I was supposed to get on, and he came to me again. He was part of the hiring, you know, hiring guys and putting them in the academy, and he said they're trying to get guys. Guys from Vietnam, the guys were coming out of Vietnam, and they wanted that job. So they decided to go with veterans for a while. And I said, sure, you know, I figured, hey, you know, I can mess around for another couple of years. 1978, I got hired. Got sent to the fire academy. All through the 70s, I'm working out for this fire academy, and I'm saying to myself, you need to slow down your drinking, dude, before you have a real problem, before you can't do anything. The day I graduated the Massachusetts Firefighters Academy, my wife has the picture, but I can see you know, we take group pictures and all that, but she took one of just me, and I can look at that picture. I know what I was thinking. You're good. You're okay. Your drinking is not affecting you. And I kept on drinking. You know, I hung around with guys. That ain't gonna happen here. Hold on. I got 5 that are gone. I'll tell you about one of them. Freddie, big dude, always showed up to work. He'd take a sledgehammer and throw it on the ladder truck, because we didn't carry sledgehammers. I was on the engine company. And he would say, we're not getting trapped anywhere, man. Stick with me. And vodka took him. And others. And last two, my son said, I'm gonna quit sending you these. I got a buddy of mine, he didn't even make it to his retirement. They found him dead at home, vodka. And another one didn't even get through his first year, retired, dead, vodka. You know, and why are you picking me? That was me at the time. And today I don't. There is a prayer out there, a writing out there that says why we were chosen. I don't believe in that. I believe He helps those who want this, because it's how it's working for me. In 76, 77, I met Hazel. I thought her ex was going to kill me because I think he was trying to get back with her. Well, he didn't succeed. I'm here. He passed away. He came. We finally got together, and he came to the house one night because my oldest daughter is his little girl. And he said, I want to keep my daddy's name. I said, please do. I know how much you loved her. And he came and saw us that night. And that morning, I was working. It was a day after Christmas. And we got a call to go to 214 Green Street, his house. And for a man unresponsive, and it was her dad. And so, in fact, yeah, anyways, so for me, this, I need to look at my sheets, and, yep, I did that, I did 70s, yep, that's done. Yeah, I'm doing good, slow down the drinking me, and thinking of fire department. In 1985, the 80s came around, and I knew I had a problem with drink. I worked, this is before all the overtime started coming around. On the fire department, I had a job at Martinetti Liquors. I got to know this guy, and he had a connection to some Boston individuals that you see movies about. He's a nice guy to me, was, and all this stuff. And I stalked his he had this massive beer chest, a big liquor store and all that. And throughout working there, I would always take a wine cooler, and one day he asked everybody to hang out after work, and when they closed, and we did, and Martinetti's and his bosses were there, you know, his supervisors were there. They're missing booze. So I said, hey man, I've been drinking the wine coolers. He said, okay. The others looked at me and they thought it was over. When he got through talking with us, he says, okay, you know, you all go home. Hey Rick, you know, I need you to hang around some more. And I said, oh man, you know, over wine coolers, really? You know, and he says, Ricky, we are missing cases of whiskey, cases of beer. And immediately I wanted to say, you got nothing but college students working here except for me. But I did not. And I thank God for that. He says, well, I gotta let you go because you spoke up. And I said, okay. He says, but I'm gonna get to the bottom of this, Rick. I said, okay. And you know how they do, they walk you out with their arm around you, you know? And so later on I found out a couple of them opened up and he made them pay somewhere somehow, you know, through paying it off or something, or taking out of their checks or some stuff like that. And but yeah, he wasn't that mean of a guy. And so yeah, then in 1985, my first detox. It's out of control, my first rehab. What did I learn out of my detox before I left? I says to them, what is it you gave me that had me sleep for about a day and a half? And they told me. I had my solution. I had my first solution. And rehab, went through it, and what helped me through it was an old timer there, an old Navy guy, and he would tell me how he comes in there at the start of every winter. He comes into these places, for the winter, so he doesn't have to be on the street. He's well covered. He's got all kinds of benefits, and all that stuff. So, and I was rooming with him. And it's cool. I liked him. I stayed sober, liquid stuff for about 1991, and I was in a conversation with my buddy. I says, hey, dude, in the NHRA, they have the Pro Stop. And I said, don't they have them racing around, oval racing? And he says, yeah, you ever hear of NASCAR? Mm-hmm. I says, what's a NASCAR? I did. And he says, so he got a video of the 1979 Daytona 500, where that big fight occurred at the end, and Richard Petty, who was in third, he ended up winning that one. And I said, who are these guys? And guys with fists this size, they're not like these little boys that are driving. No, these little guys that are driving today. I take that back. I'm sorry. I love that style of racing. These guys will tell you. I love it when one puts another one out of the way. So I went to a NASCAR race, my first NASCAR race in New Hampshire. I wasn't drinking on the ride up there, and I got there, and I says to my buddy, did we go south? He's laughing at me because I see nothing but a sea of Confederate flags. He says, do these people know where they're at? Them people fed me and got me drunk when I got there, I was hooked. I was reborn. I had arrived. I said, man, and I went home drunk, and of course she's looking at me. I said, I'll drink at the races. I'll only drink there. She did an about face and walked away. Slowly but surely, it just became more often, and throughout the 90s, and getting Valiums, and I just, last year, I called a primary care doctor that I was seeing up there. A buddy of mine at the firehouse one day, he says, man, you all right? I says, yeah, why? He says, you like this, man? I know what that is, and he drank with me sometimes, this guy. And he says, let's go upstairs. And went to his locker, and he had a bottle of Valiums. He said, you take one of these only instead of that first drink. And that's what I did for many, many years. My solution. I want to go to an AA meeting and say, hey people, get these, come on. Come on, follow me. But I never did. I had a connection from another guy, then I had a prescription, and this primary care doctor, I lied to her, and I says, I'm going through these anxiety things. We were going through some pretty bad fires at the time. And she said, sure, gave me Ativan, I think it was, or Librium, I forget, for anxiety. I had no problem with the job. I loved my job. I loved it. And then later on, once it got bad, in 2008, when I went back to a detox, I went to a detox. I had enough vacation time. Nobody knew I went. I just says, hey, I want those 4 vacation days. You know, you take 4 vacation days in the fire department, I was up there, you got about a week and a half to 2 weeks off. Because you work 24-hour shifts, 2 days off, another 24, 4 days off. Your days off only count for the days that you would actually work. And I continued to lie to her, and then she found out. Well, last year I called. She has her own practice. I found her, and I called and I talked to somebody there at the doctor's office, and I told them who I was, why I was calling, when I saw her. And here's my phone number. Here's my cell phone number, and she never called. It bugged me for a while. It still does. Of course, I had to talk to my sponsor about it. I think I spoke to you about it. I mentioned it to you, and I just had to learn to let it go. And listen, you went through the process. You did what you have to do. You know. But anyway, so in 2008, a detox, no rehab. Went to AA, found the meeting right up the street from where I lived. You know, across the street from one of the Harvard University campuses. Hair of Dog, the men's group. And I said, beautiful. Because I'm still drinking. I'll do a meeting in the morning, and I got the rest of the day to drink. You know? And my wife just putting up with me the whole time. Yeah, one night we're sitting up, we're having one of those bad nights, a lot of runs, a lot of nonsense calls, one little fire, and a buddy of mine says to me, hey, I need to talk to you, man. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. He ran into my wife, and she opened up to him. And the whole time he's telling me about it, I can't wait to get home in the morning to get in her face for it. What are you telling my business for? What are you doing this and all that? And then he says, you gotta make me a promise, Ricky. He says, I promised her that I wouldn't tell you that she spoke with me, because so to this day, that promise is still there, and I never did. I'm very grateful I never did. She did what she had to do. I understand that. I've understood that for a long time now. But yeah, at the bottom of page 178, I've told my sponsees, and I've told many other men, and the women can just change from wives to husband. At the bottom of page 178, and I show it to her on Mother's Day or her birthday, she goes, yeah, I know. It says, us alcoholic men have a gift for picking out the world's finest woman. Woman. Yeah. Man, I sure did. Gotta see my kids. They're nuts, but they're beautiful. I give all the credit, and they say, oh no, you were there too, Dad. I said, yeah, come on. But yeah, my son just took the lieutenant's exam yesterday, and he feels real good about it. But no, for me, you know, I don't want to leave out nothing, man. Give me another hour, come on. You know. So yeah, in 2008, here with a dog meeting, I befriend a man, this guy, man, Bill Campbell, a UMass professor, a dude I would not normally mix with. I had another detox in 2009, and he never told me, go back out, you're not done yet. I never heard none of the nonsense. You hear some sponsees will say that their sponsors have said to them. Before he died, I asked him, why'd you keep me around? He says, I could sponsor you the way you presented yourself, Ricky. Came to me one day and says, I will sponsor you if you want me to. And I didn't say no. He was the only one on my list to ask, and I just wouldn't do it. And another thing he kept on telling me to do Pray to him, Rick. Because I did believe in God. I wasn't mad at God. I knew who to be mad at. Just get a mirror. And I did, and that's where it started. But I'll tell you with Bill Campbell, I could go to meetings, have a pint in the car, ready to go after the meeting. Because I too came here not wanting, I didn't want to stop either. First time I heard that man back there say that, I said, you know? But every time I hooked up with him, he got to know my schedule. He says, what are you doing tomorrow? I says, well, I haven't got called for overtime or anything like that. I don't have a fire detail, I don't have a fire watch. And that's another thing we do a lot of in Harvard University and MIT. You ain't doing a lick of work in their building without a fireman being there. So they paid us to be there. So, come on over. Okay. You know, and I'd go over his house. When before I'd even get in his house, I would get in the driveway and something would come over me that I was okay. I could spend the afternoon with him. His wife would sometimes cook us dinner. He's the guy that likes to be in bed by 9. I would leave around 8:15, 8:30, and go straight home. Driving by liquor stores that are all wide open still. That was my first sponsor. Today I got a sponsor that he'll tell me to read something. I'll call him and tell him stuff. He'll say, whoa, Rick, listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. You know, the kind of guys I need in my life. You know, I got a sponsee that helps me out a ton. I guess my sponsees help me out, but for me, this thing here, I wanted to just, Bill Campbell, okay, yeah. Now, I'm going to read these, just a little bit. Don't worry, don't leave. Hold on. Okay, out of the doctor's opinion, we believe and so suggested a few years ago that the action of alcohol on these chronic alcoholics is a manifestation of an allergy, that the phenomenon of craving is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker. These allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form. Man, and talking, and I, you know, this is a Bill Campbell book, and I don't use it, you know, it's marked and everything, but I don't want it to fall apart on me. And these allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all. The powerlessness, the acceptance of who I was, and man, did he have a good time. He would laugh at me too. But at the bottom here, men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. The sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, they cannot after a time differentiate the true from the false. To them, the alcoholic life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontented unless they can again experience the sense of ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks. That puts an accent on it. Drinks which they see others taking with impunity. Doggone it, man. Shoot. I got a couple of buddies like that, but he's trying to get me up to New Hampshire by June to go to the NHRA Nationals, and I want to go. And I think there's a reason why I'm sitting is because of this foot thing. It may end up getting operated on. But I got a race to go to in November. My buddy's over here, my buddy, and that I want to make it to. And we could drink weekends away, Steve and I. We could drink weekends away. We would hang out. We didn't hang out for the night. We would just go and disappear and just drink that way and head up to Vermont, and way up and that man today could sit and crack a beer open and not finish it. Man, it's right there in front of me what the book says. It's right there in front of me. And I avoided him I avoided him when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous and realized who I was. I avoided him because I thought, no, he's an alcoholic. He just don't want to be truthful with you. Don't need to be hanging with him. I made amends to him some time ago about that. He was surprised to hear it. And but what I just read here, men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. Today, I don't know if anybody, this was sent to me some time ago, and I just found it, because when Tim asked me to speak, I didn't spend every second of my day trying to find something. I found some areas, thank you, made the cards, and then just went through it this afternoon. Turned the race back on, said a prayer, saw my buddy, asked him to do a prayer with me, but this one here, prayer. Men and women pray essentially because they like the effects produced by prayer. The serenity is so elusive that while they admit it is hard to find, they cannot after a time disregard the truth. To them, their prayer life seems the only normal one. They don't work for me without hooking up with him. If I'm on my way out the door, I might be in a hurry sometimes for some reason because I was slow moving. I don't get on my knees. He knows why. He gave them to me. I'll sit down and I'll spend time with him. They are restless, irritable, and discontented unless they can again experience the sense of ease and serenity which comes at once from prayer. Prayer which they see others taking with impunity. After they succumb to the feelings of misery again, as so many do, the serenity returns with a firm resolution to continue praying. This is repeated over and over until an entire psychic change occurs and our prayer life continues. We then experience a new life in prayer and it becomes our normal way of life. We find our hope in prayer. I believe in my higher power, Jesus. When I ask him to help me stay sober throughout the rest of the day, through the day, he doesn't come down and throw holy water on me. He doesn't come down and hits me with a stick or anything. I feel he picks me up and says, here he is, guys. Alcoholics Anonymous, the service I do is a pleasure. I'm very grateful for the retirement I have today. I'm very grateful for all y'all, because I had a year when I came down here. And I was scheming and plotting on ways to drink again. I was going to go to a meeting up in Odessa. Then the next day I'd go to Wilmington. Next day I'll come here. Wouldn't get any phone numbers. I came down them stairs and they killed that idea without even knowing they were killing it. And I went to one base by myself and I spoke of that. I didn't drink, but I spoke of watching a man in front of me drink one beer. And my buddy over there says, after the meeting, you're not going to a race by yourself anymore, and walked away. And it's true. So, anyways, I'm gonna end my part right here. Tim, love you, man. Thanks again. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you.